and we're going to turn the time over to the boiler supplier. Go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Steve with California Hydronics. I work for the Flow Therm division. We fabricated a system for Dawson and Company, and the system consists of some pumps, a mock boiler, and some other equipment that we'll be going through today. Before we start, in this video, it's just a reference for the maintenance people. To get all the information that I'm going to speak about today is in Flowtherm's IO&M manual, and that's the true reference they should go off of when looking for information. So the biggest and most important thing on that boiler system is the heat exchanger of the mock boiler is aluminum, and it has to be within a certain pH, which is 6.0 to 8.5. The total hardness must be less than 200 ppm. The chloride must be less than 25 ppm. Total solid should be less than 500 and must be less than 1,000 ppm.
What page you
on? It doesn't have a page. It's right here though. Everybody find that page? Charts.
Okay.
It says water chemistry.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. Other contaminants should be less than 1 ppm. Conductivity must be less than 24 US, and do not use an artificial water softener. Okay. It goes through cleaning and flushing. I know when I was here, you guys had a chemical guy on site. He seemed to know what he's doing and did a good job. We got the boiler within its right pH and all that. Another thing I want to stress here is good record keeping. You want to make sure all that is documented and kept in file. Okay. Move over a couple other pages, and you'll see the neutralizer setup. And what this does, it takes the acidity of the condensate running down from the boiler, the stack, the boiler itself, and it actually goes into a little container. It's called a JM11 neutralizer, and it neutralizes it so it's acceptable to put down the drain. Later in the video, we'll get to where it has to have a vapor trap at all times. We don't want any flue gases going into this neutralizer. So you have to make sure on your inspection that it always has water in that loop, in that drain. And I'll point all this out when we go out to the skid. Okay. If we go to the safety procedures, and it's on page 6. Keep going down the book on page 6. And this has all the basic safety procedures that you need to do. If you're going to work on the boiler, tag out the panel, tag out the gas. If you're going to get into any of the piping, make sure you isolate that boiler. Make sure you hit the relief valve to make sure there's no pressure in the boiler, and let it cool to a reasonable level before trying to work on the boiler. There's other safety things on here. Just read through them, and it's just general safety knowledge. The flow rate on your pump has been designed to have a minimum flow of 37, that's what that boiler is designed at, and a maximum flow at 75
75 what?
GPM. And I believe the pump that's sized is at 50 GPM. I could look that up to tell you for sure, but I think that's what the size of the pump is sized at. So you always need that minimum or maximum. You have to be somewhere in the middle. To least flow, and you're going to go out on a delta T of the boiler, which is all set up inside the boiler controls.
That's an electronic flow switch, or
What's that?
Is that electronic or? Paddle?
Yeah, it's a paddle flow switch, and it's just hooked to contacts on the boiler as a interlock. So there's two. There's a flow switch. There's manual low water cutoff, and then also another low water cutoff in the boiler. So you have all those safeties, which I will show you where they're all located. So the safeties we have on there are the two low water cutoffs, the flow switch, the high and the low gas pressure, and when we go out, I'll be showing you where the location is of all those safeties.
So it's not a delta switch thing?
No, Delta will shut down the boiler on Delta T.
Oh, okay.
It will shut down the boiler to protect itself. It'll say, hey, if something gets clogged up in there and you're still barely making the flow switch, it might make the flow switch, but you don't have the 37 gallons. The Delta T is going to rise up higher than it's supposed to, and the boiler will protect itself. Okay? Okay, now go to page 37, the daily maintenance. And I just want to stress, all this work should be done by a qualified, technician. They do have, Harsco does have a class back in Pennsylvania. So if you want to send one of your guys to learn a little bit more about what you have, I recommend you send at least one guy to the class.
Yeah, but wait till like April.
What's that, sir?
Wait till like April.
Okay. So on here, the daily maintenance, and basically I'm just going to read it off of here. Observe the operating temperature and general conditions. That's just make sure it's up to temp, make sure there's no issues. Make sure that the flow of combustion and ventilation air to the boiler is not obstructed. And this is a very smart boiler. Just do a visual, but it will let you know if there's a problem. And a little bit later on, we'll go into all the error codes. Determine the cause of the service code. If you get a service code, there's a problem. You need to find out. Just don't reset it and say, oh, well, maybe it'll go away. You need to find out the problem. We have a good tech support team. So Armando will leave you his card before we leave, because unfortunately I forgot to bring mine. But we can help you out. You can make a phone call to us, and we got some pretty smart people on those boilers, and we'd be more than happy to help out. Okay. If you turn the page, it says weekly. Observe the appearance of the main flame. You just look in there, and you guys probably know what flames look like. If you get too much oxygen, it's going to be bright red, and stuff like that. So just observe it, what it looks like now, and as long as it's the same, you guys are gold. If there is a problem, again, it needs to be by a qualified service person. Just don't try to make little adjustments yourself, because you need special equipment. You need a combustion analyzer, and there's a lot of tricks to it. And in this book, it'll tell you, and it'll tell you on the boiler what your combustion, CO2, your CO, and all that should be. It's right on the tag on the boiler. Okay, monthly maintenance. You can use the little controller on the boiler to check status. So flame signal, it should be on when the boiler's running. It should be off when the boiler's not. You can see error codes. You should test the limits. and there's a high limit in there, and what you do is you just turn it down until it kicks. It's a manual high limit. Then you have to hit the reset button and lower the limit on the boiler, and it should also kick. Test the low water cutoffs, and there's two. There's the push button inside the cabinet, and then a manual on the outside on the piping. Low gas pressure switch. Now, mind you, this is an outdoor boiler. It's going to be a little hard because you have to lift that cover to get to the high and low gas pressure switches. So it is kind of a little pain in the butt. I don't know if you guys want to make some kind of stands just to kind of lift that cover up, but it is because the vent is right down the middle of that cover. So it is a little pain in the butt, but I'm sure you guys will come up with something. And then check the condensate drains to make sure that your P-trap has always got water, because we don't want no flue gases going out the P-trap. Semi-annual, clean the burner, and details are on 5.2. You have to take off, you lock out and tag out the boiler, remove the front door, then you have to disconnect the electrical connections to the blower and the gas safety shutoff valves, and then you unbolt the burner hood and remove the gas train and blower assembly. It's not as difficult as it seems, but again, you need to send that one guy you have for training. So that's what they do. They come out, they pull it, you pull it out, and then you're gonna clean it. You're not gonna use a hard brush or power washer, just a little soap and water with a soft brush, and clean the inside of it, and you're good. And then just squirt it off. You let it dry, and then you put it back in. Annually, inspect and clean inlet, a screen accumulated of dust and lint. Check the burner and clean off any soot or foreign material that has accumulated. And again, see section 5.2, it tells you what to do. Inspect and clean the heat exchanger. Remove various covers and inspect the flue gas passageways. Clean the combustion side casting pins by flushing with clean water and blowing dry with compressed air. Do not use cleaning agents or solvents. Do not use soap on that. A soft nylon brush may be used to access areas. Be sure to inspect the condensate collection pan. That is the lowest part of the heat exchanger. Replace the igniter and gasket. Anytime you replace the igniter, you better have a gasket because it rips. Okay? Check all joints and pipe connections for tightness. Check pipe for corrosion or deterioration. If any pipe needs replacing, do so immediately. Inspect and clean any screens in the vent terminal. Qualified service personnel should thoroughly inspect the heating system and correct any problems prior to starting the boiler. So that's your, and then perform a leak gas test, because you have to pull out the gas drain. Okay? And then below it shows cleaning the burners and how to pull them out and all that other stuff. On page 40, it's the sequence of operation. It just tells you how the boiler's set up. When the boiler is switched on, power is provided on the combustion blower. If high gas or low gas or low water control is open, the boiler locks out. And then you're going to get an error code on the NV controller, which I'll show you where that's at out there. So this is just the sequence of how the boiler works. And on page 44, and I recommend you laminate a copy of this and just keep out there by the boilers. This just shows you all the error codes. So, and I'll create an error code out there so you can see it. But this is what you're going to get. If you get a A01, it's a ignition error. So, and that about concludes my presentation on the boiler. And if we have any more questions that you guys want to ask me out there as we're going through stuff, I'd be happy to.
Are there any little lights that come on if there's an alarm, like a little yellow light or something?
There is, and it's in plain English, and it'll be on the front of the NV controller. Any other questions? Okay. Control panel. This runs the boiler pump, the system pump, and the label's falling off here, but we're going to get a new one. This is the handoff auto for the system. So anytime that you want to work on something, they have a box here which provides power to this. I recommend shutting this off or that and locking it out with a tag out lockout. But if you're having issues and it's not working like it's supposed to, you can always come over here and just turn it in hand. And then that way it bypasses anything that's out in the system and it'll run in hand. And also this is where you tag it out. If you shut this off, I don't want to shut it off because we might overtemp the boiler or something like that. So you shut it off and then this handle pulls out and then you just put a lock on this handle right here. Okay.
There is complete wiring diagrams inside of it laminated.
Yeah.
Just quick word on the way Johnson is managing is just sending it a start signal. We're closing the start. We're closing it, and we're getting a pump status from it. Two pump statuses: the loop status and the primary pump status for the boiler. And we're getting one alarm signal. Even though you got individual alarm signals here telling you what went off, at the EMS panel we're only receiving one. They're all run in a parallel. So any alarm trips here will signal an alarm on your Johnson panel, which we'll go over later with Johnson.
Boiler fault in there?
It just says boiler fault. That's all. All the over here, all these faults here, all different faults. I run them in parallel. There's 3 different faults. They're all in one.
They're all in one.
They're all run in parallel. So anything that closes will close the contact. Go ahead. See.
Oh, I just put that up there. It doesn't have sticky on it, but at least you can see what the knobs are on the top. And then I'll have you replace this. Okay, so that's the panel. This isn't ours, but this is a backflow preventer. Keeps water from the system going back into your city pressure. This is your makeup water. You set your pressure right here on this little top. It's all been set. You have a relief valve over there. You have your system pump here. On this side, you have your expansion tank. And when you do that 6 months, probably dealt with expansion tanks before where you isolate it, you have to drain it down, and then you check the air pressure. And this should be about 12 to 15 psi, okay, which was set at the time when we came out here. These little things are sensors. All these little, anytime you see like this, and that's going to the panel or the boiler. This here is air roll control. It takes the air out of the system automatically. Make sure that that's open. Make sure no one has closed that. And it is. This right here, you can't really see it, but it's a triple duty valve. And it acts as not only a control valve, but a check valve. So the water doesn't go back through the other way in the system. This is a chemical feeder, hot feeder, and when your chemical guy does the system, this is where he's gonna put in his chemical. He isolates it from the system, takes this out, puts his chemical in, puts it back, and that's how you introduce chemical to your system. Okay, if you guys want to go around the other side, I'll show you okay, there's your pump, boiler pump, and then you have isolation valves. You have one here and one here. If you need to work on the boiler, piping, whatever, of course your system's going to be locked out, tagged out. You shut these two off, you shut your gas off, and then you can't see it, but there's a pressure relief valve right here. Make sure you get all the pressure out before you open that piping up, okay, because it is under pressure and it is hot. And then I recommend you let it cool before you work on it. Okay, here is your condensate line from the flue. Okay, it's dripping down here. Here's your air trap. It's going into this little neutralizer and then going out to the drain. It makes it safe so it doesn't eat up your drains. This is on your list. I think once a year you pull the end apart and you check to make sure that the limestone isn't all gone. You know what I mean? You want to check that. So once every 6 months, just you look in there depending on how much condensate you're running through there.
Is that in the O&M manual?
Yes. Yes. That's the neutralizer I talked about. We call it a neutralizer. But again, and you can test the water coming out of there. If it's too acidic, you know your limestone's all deteriorated. Here's your flue. And it was raised above the roof line because otherwise it would downdraft and do some weird stuff. So that's per the O&M. This is a low water cutoff. The cover is missing. We'll send the cover, and Dawson is going to replace it. That needs a cover on there. Anything else on this side? Here, again, here's your gas shut off to the boiler, and that's about it on that side. So if you come on this side now, okay, here's your little inspection hole, and if you look in there, can you look in there? Do you see the flame?
Yeah.
Okay, that's about what it should look like when everything's running right. Okay? Yeah, you gotta watch that. All right, and this cover makes it an outdoor unit. They don't want water running in there. So I'm gonna open this thing up now, and if you come over here, you wanna come over and look? So if you hit menu, it gives you a whole bunch of menus. You can arrow up, arrow down. So if we had an error, we can enter that, and it tells us what the error was, what it was doing, the whole 9 yards. And if you want to go back to the back menu, hit back. Now if we go up to information, and just use your up and it's in the book. You just use your up and down arrows, and then you hit enter. And this is telling us our supply right now is 181. Our return is 179, so that means we're not pulling much heat out of it at all. And if you go down, it gives you flue temp. It gives you that. Ignore that. That's for domestic water. So that's why it just says 14 because it's not used. Outside air is not used. It's right now. Its set point is 180. So that's the set point they're trying to hold in the system. We don't have a header sensor on there. Flame signal, and this is 6AU. So that you can just kind of go down, and this is all the information you have access to. Okay? Now, as you see the high gas pressure, we have a 1. So if you had an issue, that would say a 0. Okay? So here's your set point. Like if you wanted to change it, it's in the CH settings. You'd hit enter and you just go up and down. Okay, so if you want to test to make sure it's going off at the right time or whatever, that's where you go into the CH mode. Okay? And then to get back to regular menu, you just hit back. And it'll take you all the way back out to the first menu. Okay? Open the store. Here's a fuse and your on off. And again, I don't want to turn it off because we might over temp something and then it's not going to work when I leave. This is kind of a pain in the butt to open. Maybe I locked it. So, here's one of the tests, the low water cutout. So if we push this, we see the fire just went out. So it's satisfied on its heat, but if we push this, okay, so now it would have shut down our boiler. Okay? Let's see where the gas is at. Let's see if these. Okay, here's our gas valve. Now, when we talk about the middle part to pull out, you have to pull all this out to get to the burner assembly, which is inside there. So all this has to be disconnected and come out. And then it's right there behind, right where this is your igniter. So all that has to come out. So again, it's not that difficult, but I highly suggest you guys get trained on that before you try that. Okay. And then here's your, see that back in there? That's your manual high limit. Okay? So all those controls in your gas, high and low, are inside the back there. You have to pull the top off to get to it.
And then that's gas pressure switch right there?
Yeah, this is an air switch.
Oh, okay.
Here, this is an air switch.
Where's that gas pressure switch?
I don't know if you can see them. It's right here. It's just a little manual one on the gas valve itself, but it must be an auto reset. So that's this is a different type. This one doesn't have it.
So this is air, that's gas?
Yeah, this is the gas. This is the gas valve right here, and then the air comes in and it mixes. And then say it pulls it this way. See that's open. It pulls. Yeah, it mixes. It's your
Pressure?
Yeah. So gas comes in this way, that comes in that way.
And then it varies the amount of gas? Or
Yeah, depending on how much air. Yeah.
how much demand you have? Or?
The gas follows the air. So, see as when this is the fan's winding up,
Yeah.
it pulls in whatever air goes in, it pulls in the equal combustion analyzer because you can't. There's no other way to do it.
But once it starts up, then it's just the gas is off, right?
No, it pulls it. It pulls it. So the higher the fan runs, the more it's calling for, the more gas comes in. So if it's on low fire, it's going to pull less gas. So that's how that works. Okay, any other questions? And there is another book. So when I press that signal and it tells you, it gives you a red alarm light and it gives you a low water error. Now to reset that, you have to get this up here. Just hold it and now it'll reset. Okay? And then I'll knock down a second. Over here, there's also another test button. So here's your test button, and then that's going to switch states, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to give you, that's on an interlock, it's going to say interlock. So this is another low water cutoff though, two spots. And this one does not have the flow switch, so that's these two are what's controlling it.
Is that waterproof?
No, that's why it needs a cover.
So you guys can get it?
Yeah, they're going to send one out tomorrow.
It's like a plastic little...
No, it's a metal cover, and it goes over here, and then it slides over this in the back. So, and I wrote that in my report, and I just forgot to cover it when I came up.
Where's the water flow switch?
There is no flow switch on this one. It's the two right here, and that one. That's the boiler protection, and then the Delta T is also the protection.
What happens if it just goes off as fire?
What now?
If you don't have a pump running, those fires, it'll go off at high level.
Yeah. That's the protection on it.
How did this come off?
Well, you gotta isolate it first, so you have to shut this off, and this off, I'll turn this back on, and then you drain out the water here to let the pressure out. Right here, you just undo, and then it just comes out. Or this comes out. Yeah, this comes out, and then there's a gasket right there. You gotta make sure there's no pressure on it. It's 180-degree water.
Is this piping on this rack here anything special?
That's a coupon rack, and they added that. And what that does, we didn't provide that, but what it does is it gives you the deterioration of the pipe. So they look at that. That's all that does. The water runs through there, and they say, okay, how much deterioration do we have on the pipe?
Okay.
It's called the coupon rack. And I imagine you guys got people monitoring that. You're probably your water guy. Okay, so we're back to normal. Everything's enabled. What kind of coupons are you?
What metal is in the coupon rack?
Sorry, a coupon rack?
That's for the water system. It's not marked on it.
It's right. It's not on that tape.
Kind of material over there because this is hot. This is double walled, but this is your air intake.
Okay, is there any kind of a filter or just a screen? Or there
Well,
would be, you know, I mean, can it,
usually they have a screen right here, but this one doesn't.
shouldn't it have something so animals can't go in there? Or
You could put some wire mesh over there or something. That's not from us, so
really?
yeah. Usually there's like a little, and it. See this pipe? It usually goes inside there. It's like a little round. Fart. Did you guys put that on?
This thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there a little screen that came with that?
The screen is inside of it. Isn't it?
No.
Maybe further in. There needs to be something.
Okay. Can you send me another
Just
one?
what-
I'll slide it on.
Okay.
If you have, just let's
All right.
give it to me and I'll put it in. You can
Yeah.
have them ship it down.
Okay.
But I'll check to see if it came with it. If it did, it will be in my container.
Or you can just take some coarse wire mesh and just
Okay.
put it around the outside and put like a yeah, exactly. You know, just cut around it. And that.
You said there's a couple of switches underneath the hood.
No, there's not. They're back there on the gas. That was on a different
Yeah.
model.